Hello and welcome to the Community Affairs Committee's program, Growing Your Volunteer Capital with Anita Matechuk. My name is Anne-Marie Queenie and I am the CAC chair. And on behalf of the CAC, thank you for joining us today. It's my pleasure to introduce Anita Matechuk, the presenter of today's webinar. Anita is the IDL or Instructional Design and Learning SIG Secretary and Student Liaison. And she's also an enthusiastic STC member and volunteer. She will share her proven techniques for successfully identifying, welcoming, and engaging new members. So we have a large group today. So Erin will place everyone on mute, but please enter your questions in the chat panel and I will be monitoring them. And time permitting, Anita will be taking questions during the program. And we also will have time at the end of the program for Q&A. And Anita has also generously made her slide deck and volunteer guide available, and that will be available after the program. So if you're just joining us, if you could please turn off your video. And again, this program will be recorded. And thank you for joining us. I'm looking forward to hearing Anita's webinar. And now over to you, Anita.
Hi, thank you. So my name is Anita Matechuk. I am a recent graduate of Simon Fraser University's Technical Communications program. And while I was volunteering for the IDL SIG, I discovered that I was kind of lost in what STC had to offer. And I started, once I had learned how I found was beneficial with STC, I started sharing it with everybody else. And it turned into more where I was recruiting volunteers instead of just sharing what I had learned. And so that's kind of where the basis of this presentation came from. So I found with the meetings with the IDL SIG that there was a lot of things that in the meetings where I needed to still do this, or I just don't have time to finish this, were tasks that as a new member, I would have been really excited to try. And so the IDL SIG started a new program to help students find what STC and the IDL SIG had to offer. And we called it the First Fridays at 5 program. And it was a networking event for students. It quickly evolved into a networking event for the entire SIG. And it turned into a portfolio building project for volunteers, any students, new members, anyone who is looking for a portfolio project to be able to do a presentation as an article, as well as just network and meet new people. I took on the responsibility of finding individuals who were interested. And I normally, whenever I offered the opportunity, I would get, sure, what would you like me to talk about? And my response was always, whatever you want, this is for you. And it turned into more of a first project. And then we began to build, and the volunteers took on more as we went on. So for me, the best product that STC has to offer is the individuals, the people. And I find that it was really hard for me when I started to figure out how to actually network and meet people. It kind of seemed like STC was for resources, webinars, and you had to be in person to meet people. And that was only because I didn't know how to find everybody else. So a lot of my communications with volunteers is all about how to actually connect with people. And I was very lucky because the one way I found to actually connect with the group was the offer to volunteer with the IDL SIG. I didn't think I was qualified for the position that was listed, but they warmly greeted me and were not only excited that I was there, they actually were excited for my opinions and my support. So I was one of those individuals who are actively searching to participate. And when I started sharing what my experiences were with other students and new members, I found there are a lot of us out there. Some of the things that we were interested in trying was, okay, well, how do I find the knowledge resources? How do I network with other individuals? And how do I actually meet people, not just have a LinkedIn connection? We were also interested in the mentoring and support that comes fairly naturally through volunteering, because I have found it's a very generous community in which everyone was willing to share to help us learn our new roles. The other thing that we found was we were interested in was building our resume and portfolio building opportunities. And the individuals who are looking for these areas could be students, new to TechCom, or individuals who had proprietary documents that couldn't share them in their portfolio. So a volunteer opportunity was perfect for them. Some of the areas that I use that for STC to find these individuals, I like the Slack workspace. I routinely check it to see if anyone has mentioned anything related to instructional design, volunteering, being new, looking to connect. I like to look at the introductions channel, the knowledge exchange channel, the new members channel, and the volunteer opportunities channel. I also like to go to the virtual events that STC hosts. For the knowledge exchange, I like to watch the chat and look to see if anyone's providing their contact information or commenting anything about being a student, being new, looking to connect, or instructional design. And I'll reach out through the chat as well. Another great one is the new member meetups, because not only do you get to use the chat feature, but you actually get to talk to one another and find out what individuals are interested in. And I find I meet a lot of new members who are interested in connecting and volunteering. So I found that one of the things you need to do is give the volunteers a way to find you. So whether it is on your website where you have posted, if you'd like to volunteer, go through here. This is the different jobs we have, and make it so that it's not just scary, big leadership roles to get started. The IDL SIG created what we call the TODIPs, which are short projects, either support roles or like something as short as maybe editing or writing an article, but quick little things that can get somebody started, and it gives you a chance to get their contact information. And I reach out to anyone who shows any kind of interest. I will contact them through STC Slack. If they give their email, I will email them. I will connect with LinkedIn. If they give me their contact information, I will give them a personal note saying, hello, what are you interested in? Is there anything I can help you with? And get the conversation started. Once I have that conversation started, I find out what will give them a reason to join us. Are they looking for a portfolio project? Are they looking for just to network, find out what STC has to offer? Do they just need a one-on-one call to actually answer some questions? Sometimes they just become an active SIG member. Sometimes I get a new volunteer. Sometimes they're just happy and content in STC afterwards. But I do find the one-on-one meetings, the individual emails do help. I try to get them connected with people as fast as possible. So if we have a SIG leadership meeting coming right away, I try and invite them to that. Or one that I find works really well is our networking event for our first Fridays at 5. And I just try and connect them right away do anything I can to get them set up. Once I have that initial conversation going a little bit more, I dive a little bit deeper into like, are you looking for a portfolio piece? Are you just trying to get involved? What areas interest you? So are you looking to do, we have several who are working on portfolio pieces to further schooling, where they are creating, I personally created a volunteer guide that, and then as well as I did a Slack reference and a Google Calendar and a Google Drive reference to get our volunteers started. We had another one who did editing, and we have some who's looking into SurveyMonkey. So we're getting projects from them as well as getting them interested in volunteering for the SIG. So once I have somebody who's agreed that they would like to do at least a little project, possibly more, I send them the welcome package, which I'm sharing the volunteer guide so that you guys can actually look it up and see if there's anything that would be of value for your group. And then I keep touching base. I follow up, hi, how are you? Is there anything I can help you with? I just keep that conversation going. And once they're finished their project or might be looking like they might be interested in a little bit more, I go and ask, is there anything else you might be interested in? And quite often we actually build up so that they're taking on more and more projects. We've actually had some who've gone on to leadership roles in the SIG. So that's kind of my process. I try and make sure I'm very visible for volunteers to be able to find me, and whether that is on Slack, whether it is in the new member meetups, or any other way I can find to reach the volunteers. And I make sure that I am that first contact that they get. I don't wait for them to contact me. I make that first contact, whether if I'm posting my LinkedIn contact or offering to email, anything like that. I don't wait for them to be the first one to contact. I make sure I reach out first. And then I just find anything I can that would intrigue them and help the SIG with some of what they need done. And it's working well for us. We've gotten quite a few who've become interested. And then once they were welcomed and I follow up with them, I find they're staying. We do lose some after their initial project, but they are staying and expanding what they're interested in involvement with the SIG. So that is basically my process. I am more than happy to answer any questions if anyone has them. And that is my email address there if you want to reach out personally, or else I am the only Anita Matechuk on STC Slack.
Okay, thank you very much, Anita. I'm watching the chat panel, and I guess this is a lot of information to absorb. So while people think of their questions, because I think Nita is just a, really subject matter expert here on this. She's got a great process, and I love the acronym, GROW, because it is a process. And so while we're waiting for people to have questions, I guess, oh, here, well, let me go straight to the question because my question can wait. It says, Lily wants to know, oh, wait a minute here. Lily wants to know, when you reach out first and not let potential volunteers email you first, how do you get their contact information?
Okay, so when I've been the one to reach out first, on STC Slack, you can private message anyone who puts any kind of note on there. You can just hit next to their name and the option will pop up to private message them. And so I can contact them there. If anyone, like in the new member meetups, because they're trying to network, they will often put their LinkedIn profile or any other kind of contact information. So I will use that. But also in the new member meetups and knowledge exchange, if anyone shows any interest in instructional design or volunteering or student getting connected, I will private message them during the webinar. And we normally will exchange email addresses there to actually get their email address that way. And then I offer to let them contact me, but if they provide their email address, I reach out as soon as the meeting is over.
Okay, thank you. And Lily, does that answer your question then? I can say that Slack is great for finding people, because I look there myself, and as the CAC chair, if I see someone who's introducing themselves and they're from a certain part, regional part of the country, or have an interest, like you said, I will private message. And some of you have received some of my private messages about, hey, this person is a new volunteer. I don't know, because I don't have the community report information. That's confidential. I said, I don't know if they're already a member, but they're active on Slack. Would you like to touch base with them? So it is very easy, to what Anita said. So Slack really has been a big help, I think, for finding people. We have a question from Danielle, and she wants to know, how do you find the time to do all this contacting? Do you delegate this at all?
Well, the IDL SIG does share. Like I'm not the only one who does it. We have quite a few members who just take a couple minutes here or there to monitor Slack. For me, if I'm checking Slack, I'll just send the quick response afterwards. We have also just changed my volunteer role, where we are probably going to, I'm probably going to transition straight into volunteer coordinator and hand off some of the other duties that I have been doing. But for me, it takes a couple seconds. Like the first time it takes more because you're a little nervous. It's a little harder, but after you've done it for a while, the quick responses, it's just part of my volunteering time that I block out time to, this is where I'm going to communicate back and forth. It's part of checking my email, and it's part of checking Slack for me.
Okay. And I think Bobby has a comment, and this might kind of tie into what you've just said about you becoming like a volunteer coordinator. And she says, I wonder if it's worthwhile to tap a single individual in the community to assume the role of recruiter or outreach leader, or is this something everyone should do? And it sounds like you're kind of segueing into what Bobby's talking about is outreach leader. Is that a fair
Yes, like
assessment?
I'm coordinating, like we had enough volunteers come in that we needed somebody checking to make sure they were given proper access. And when they leave, that the access is then removed. Just because we were getting enough volunteers, we almost needed a training group kind of thing. It was more than it was more than just the manager could take on anymore. Like we just had too many coming through. So we actually designated one person to do it. But the actual outreach, you can designate different people for doing different times. Like if you have one person who's willing to give an hour to go to a new member meetup once a month, they don't have to do everything. You can break it up and it still works, because then your group is more visible and there's more people for people to connect with.
Okay. And then this is like a follow-up, I think, to what you had previously said, that when you became a new member, you really didn't know who to reach out to. And so Lily has said, at first you didn't know who to get in touch with at STC. And I'm guessing you didn't know what CAC was, or what it does at STC. And so then how exactly did you get connected with CAC and their events?
Actually, well, I manage a virtual quilting guild. And when I started with STC, I decided I was going to take advantage of everything my student membership offered. So I noticed there was a lot of free events for students. So I began looking for free events, and the CAC programs were free. And they also were everything I needed to be able to support my virtual quilting guild. So I was using that information to build my guild. And then I started getting connected with the CAC that way.
Okay, well, that's great. And there's a beautiful quilt right behind her that she has done. Yeah, that's a good question, Lily, because the CAC Community Affairs Committee, and like I said, we have Danielle and Lori on here, and of course, Erin is our STC office member. Yeah, we're here to support communities. So especially if you're a leader or volunteer, please, we're on the leadership programs on the STC website, and maybe we can put that in later. Um, the webinars are free; they are recorded, and so that's one great way to go. But if you're a leader or a volunteer, um, we also have the CAC website, and so yeah. So we have a lot of things available. We're here to help. And yeah, Erin just put in the link to the leadership programs. And so that's where you would find them. Also, if you are a new leader or new volunteer and you're not receiving our CAC monthly newsletters, please email me and I'll put my email in the chat and I'll make sure that you're put on our distribution because that's where we talk about the different programs and resources we have. So thank you for, let me put my little plug in there for the CAC. And Danielle and Lori, would you like to add anything to what I
I would
said?
even just say if I think Erin's already put it up, you could even just see what's going on. We try to keep a regular calendar update, and just going into resources, you can find things, and just checking out social media. We have accounts on Facebook, Twitter, and we do try to post things in the STC LinkedIn account when we can, when we do have events going on. So, keep your eyes open on social media as well.
Okay, thanks. And I just looking through the messages here. Yeah, Marcia says IDL, which is Instructional Design Learning SIG, has greatly benefited from Anita's dedication to this. Lily says, thanks. You did answer her question. Great story. Marianne says, many communities send a new member welcome email that lets members know who to contact for various issues and lists the ways members can get involved in the community. Yeah, that is a good way also.
I have one thing to say with that one.
Mhm.
The initial email, like coming from a student who was very, very lost, had a lot of information in it. If you can break it up and send maybe, 2 or 3 different emails, um, it it's more contact for the new member, as well as they're more likely to read the part about volunteering, because I know personally for me, it was so much information, I couldn't absorb it all at the beginning. So I had to go back to my email once I was comfortable with STC and the IDL SIG before I could even absorb the fact that there was volunteering information in there.
Okay, that's a very good point. Sometimes if you're a new member, there is so much with STC, especially it's overwhelming. And so sometimes I once went to a marketing seminar and it said, in the past you had to tell people something 3 times, the public. Now you tell them 6 times because there's just so much information out there. So very good advice, Anita. Thank you for that. Bobby asks, what do you recommend if it feels like volunteers have vanished in your area?
go virtual. Because like it sounds like you're talking like, are you talking geographically, or are you talking that they seem to have lost interest in what you have to offer?
Okay, let's see if she
Can
answers.
I speak?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Thank you.
Well, I'm just aware of a number of geographical communities that are struggling because one, they've had probably a number of people in their leadership who have been in those roles for a long time. And either, circumstances have changed or they're feeling a little burned out. There's a lot of fatigue in communities. And so where do you go to tap new volunteers? And I know that, we're not bound by geography anymore. If the pandemic has taught us anything, it's that our communities don't have to be in our immediate area, but it's a challenge to figure out what to do, where to go, who to tap. So do you have any recommendations for how to drum up volunteers, not just how to follow up with them once you know who they are?
Well, okay, so like you have your membership list. Do you have like I found the virtual events were some of the easiest, well, like because now with COVID we can't have in-person ones, but the virtual events where I actually could communicate with individuals and get them chatting was great. But if you're looking for something that's already available, try STC's new member meetups. There is individuals there who are just looking for ways to connect, and a lot of them are willing to volunteer to get started. That would be like, and the same with STC's Slack is anyone who shows any kind of interest in your area of anything you can offer. Quite often the new members are looking for networking, and volunteering is the best networking you can do.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, I just had myself on mute there. Yeah, that is a great suggestion for the new member meetup, because it is very, very active. And I know, Erin, you're very involved with that. Did you want to say anything to about the new member meetup at this time?
Sure. We actually have the new member meetups, and then we also have the knowledge exchange panel discussions. And these were created for the whole purpose of answering the most common questions that we get about STC from our new members, because people would call me or email me, and I just saw repetitive answers to repetitive questions to the same types of things. And so my thought was, yes, we definitely want to put that online, but we also want to answer as many people as we possibly can, and to get to know them and actually have conversations of why you're asking those questions, and to really make that personal connection. Because once you do that, we always thought that, we felt at the home office that we often have more successful members, and we can kind of tailor what benefits they're looking for to their experience, what they're there to ask for, and their plans and their goals. So it's all what Anita was saying, is just talking to them, seeing what they want, and then basically giving them what they're kind of looking for. Because that makes them more connected and to stay. So the new member meetups came out of our CAC, some of our CAC leaders of John Garrison actually gave the idea, because he does it in his company just to greet new employees, because they just have a large company with lots of turnover. So it was just a chance for us to really get to know them on a one-on-one basis, and then to find out where they what they're looking for, and then we can give them direct contacts or places or people. And then the knowledge exchange panels are specifically designed to answer specific. So, well, the new member meetups are just more generalized, just open. People can ask whatever it is, and the conversation kind of takes its own path. The knowledge exchange panels that happen are about specific topics that we ask seasoned technical communicators to come and be panelists, and we keep our questions for them pretty brief. It's just basic questions about, where do you find your first job? How do you prepare a resume? We did one on volunteering, of how volunteering can help your network. We're doing one on content strategy. We're putting together another one about just professional branding. How do you begin to do that outreach as a new person to find your first connections of how do you even start to navigate a new industry? And it's just people's perspectives of their own personal experiences. And I know a couple of you who are on this webinar have been our panelists, and we appreciate the comments going on in the chats and in the and even live, because you never know where these conversations go, and it's just a great laid back way to have these talks. So I'll put the link to the knowledge exchange panels and the meetups in the chat. We have 2 meetups per month, the second week of each month on Monday and Friday, and then the last Monday of every month is the panel discussions. The next panel discussion is going to take place on the 31st about certifications and academic programs and certificates and kind of what works for people and how that can impact your career and as you're moving on. So it's just a great place an informal place to meet people, and it's turned out very well. And those conversations have gone to Slack, and people have made connections there, and in LinkedIn. So a lot of people walk away with great connections. So it's a good place to start. And I will state, just not to sabotage the conversation, but another place where we were looking for ideas, I know it was brought up earlier, is sometimes even looking at the community reports that you receive. You know, you have your member lists, but also the community reports. I mean, I know some groups that works better than others, but there are folks who maybe have left and haven't signed back up that they just need to retouch, or there is a prospect list. That final list is like a search by state that you can pull people who have either not been a part of a community at all, or they haven't been a member of a community for at least 2 years. So those are people that you might be able to tap in and say, hey, you're in our area, or you know, you might be able to brainstorm with that. And I'm always happy to answer questions about how you might be able to use those lists for prospecting, just to even say you're putting together an event, just to send an initial prospecting note to get people to come to you, and then you can start to have the conversations about how they can plug in, just attracting new folks. Just a couple of thoughts.
Okay, thank you. And the good part about the meetups and the panel discussions, that it's very informal. You don't have to have a formal registration. When Aaron puts the link in the chat, you'll see it's right on STC, and if you don't have it here, you can find it, and so you can just use the same link. So it's not like our CAC webinars where, you know, we do want you to sign up so we can give you the link. That's more informal, more user-friendly. So I just wanted to bring that up. And I do want to mention too, I think Aaron brought up a really good point when Bobby was talking about, you know, bringing volunteers back. Yeah, look at your community reports. Sometimes people just want to be asked, you know, they say, oh, well, you know, what's the big deal? I left. And it's like, wow, somebody really missed me. And, you know, you might be able to talk to someone and they might say, well, why did you leave? And then you could find out, well, you know, we can offer mentoring or networking or whatever it is with that. Sometimes people simply forget, you know, they get really busy. And also I have found when I was involved with the SIGs, that new members are really are seeking areas they want to get involved. STC is very large, and a lot of them are career changes or new careers. So look at your community report and find those brand new or newish members. And, you know, maybe just have an open house and just invite everyone that's been a member less than a year or less, and, you know, give a talk to them. So there's a lot of ways that, you know, we can still reach out, and we have a few new messages. So I'm going to scroll quickly through here. Yeah, Marianne had said about your tip about having the welcome letter. Don't make it overwhelming. She says, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Usually there's a personal invitation to the next meetup or program. That's a good tip too. And of course, a targeted ask always gets the best results. Absolutely. That's good advice too. Thank you. Marcia says, let's see, what would be enough info in a first contact welcome? Website to find social media and calendar. So I guess, I think that's in your volunteer guide, but what sort of information do you put in your welcome contact?
Like for me, I don't do the welcome for new members. But for me, coming as like from a student point of view, keep it to 1 to 2 paragraphs. Keep it short, because you skim it, you're overwhelmed, and you're like, oh, okay, what am I supposed to do now? And like, okay, so I have an extra thing where I'm a quilt pattern designer. I'm in a group that talks about social media to market to their quilters. And one of the things they keep talking about is when they have a new member who comes and signs up for their mailing list, they have a mailing list package that automatically goes out. It does short, small, quick few little sentences, and then they get another email the next week. So to start out with, what do they need to do right now? So like for me, it would be, here's the website. Here we are on Slack. And here's if you want to sign up to social media. And then, but, you know, depending on how many social media things you have, if you have a lot, you may want to limit how much goes out. Some groups could maybe get away with having everything on one email because you only have a few ways that you connect. If you have a lot of ways that people can connect with you, stick to only one ask per email. Only ask them to do one thing. So if you want them to, you have a newsletter out, you know, send them to the newsletter, connect with you on Slack. If you need them to sign up for a discussion list, you know, however you're going to get the most to communicate with your community, have them only do one thing at a time, and make it very welcoming. And then, like, if you read my volunteer guide, it is very, very relaxed and welcoming. It is very long for a welcome letter for a new member, but it works for a new volunteer to get started. But that would be my thought with the email is you want to keep it, you know, 1, maybe 2 things to have them do, because it's very much where you get started. I don't know what any of this means, so I'll just put that aside for now. Whereas if you have 1 or 2 items, you're willing to learn what it means and actually figure out if you want to do it.
Okay, good. Thank you. Let's see, Mike was asking a general question. He says, in general, do you think, and I think this might have been answered by some of our attendees, in general, do you think people still value networking in their local region, or has remote work made it less important today? My regional chapter has been struggling with that. And I think Heather answered. And Heather, do you want to unmute and maybe answer that? Because I think you talked about something a little different that you answered Mike's suggestion.
Hi, yes, I put in a link to our TechCom Cafe, which is an informal networking meeting where anyone who's interested in tech writing can attend. And it's all, of course, it's been online for the last couple of years because of COVID. But we get a good group of people, a mix of students, people changing careers, people who have been tech writers for decades who want to help the newcomers, and just chat about whatever comes up. And
Okay.
it's a good way to, we try to keep it low key and not, twist any arms too vigorously, but it's a good way to find volunteers, people who are interested in helping or learning or getting a portfolio piece. And I always ask for a volunteer to write a recap of the meeting so that it gives somebody a chance to get their feet wet, writing a little something other than just school assignments. And we've had not a lot of volunteers, but some who have stuck around, who we first met at those meetings. And it's just a good way to sort of touch base with people and feel sort of energized afterwards. That, oh, I'm not alone out here in my little bubble. There's other tech writers and you can sort of make nerdy grammar jokes and stuff. It's just a nice way to meet people and to encourage them to be active in the tech writing community.
Okay, thank you. And Heather did put that link in. So I think that answers Mike's question about it's almost like expanding the umbrella, so to speak, of
Yes.
who
Actually, the
you're
next meeting's
talking to.
tonight. You're welcome to attend. Just click the RSVP link so I can send you the login information. I think Laurie's going to be there.
Oh, okay, great. So
And
yeah, so there it is. I think you've all seen this. And yeah, RSVP if you're available, that would be
within
great.
the next half hour if possible, because I send the link out about an hour ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, thank you for
Or probably the
inviting
next one in
everyone.
February. There's always another one.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for inviting everyone. That's great opportunity. Um, I'm watching the time, so we have about 5 more minutes for questions, and these have been some really good questions. And I guess I just have a question about your IDL SIG's first Fridays at 5. Maybe you could talk a little bit, I mean, about that. Do you have an agenda on that, or do you like share the hosting responsibilities?
Okay, so what that one started out is it was supposed to be a networking event to help students find out what the IDL SIG offered and STC offered. Our very first event, we had myself and another student received lots of mentoring on how to create a webinar, how to present, and our entire team was the volunteer team. I think we maybe had one other member, but we found the networking was fun. So we decided to expand it to just be networking. And we were going to offer the students an opportunity to present on topics related to instructional design to get some training in presenting. And it's now a very active, we once a month, we get together, we have quite a few SIG members who attend, and it's a fun networking event and with a presentation anywhere between 5 minutes to an hour, depending on how interested we are in the topic, and we all discuss and share ideas and converse. It started out, it wasn't recorded, but they expanded to the point where we kind of wanted them recorded so we could share it because we really got some advanced topics and had a great sharing time. And that way too, the students or anyone else who was looking for the portfolio piece could share the video as well to show for their portfolio. And then we have them write up an article, and we were just posting it straight on the student page on the website, but we're now going to add it to our newsletter because that way the students or whoever is the presenter can get more exposure that way. But it's a virtual networking event where we get together for an hour, and sometimes we just visit without an agenda, and other times we have a full presentation.
Okay, thank you. And the interesting part is that it is at a set time and a set day, day of the week.
Yeah, the first
And
Friday
Friday.
of the month
Yeah,
at 5 o'clock Eastern.
yeah. Do you find that helps to have it's kind of a little first Friday, you know, it's a I don't know because if you experimented with different times or
We didn't experiment with different times. We came up with a fun name and then we made it work.
yeah.
But we did find that each month we're getting more and more people who are signing up and attending.
Okay. Well, I would say that that's definitely another tip. Uh, if I know we have several leaders of chapters and SIGs here, if you haven't tried something like this, it sounds like it would be a great way to get more active members and without a lot of preparation, right? Because you can have a topic or just discussion. So that's definitely something to think about. All right, I'm looking at here at the chat. Um, do we have any other questions for Anita? Again, we will have her volunteer guide available. It'll be on our It'll be on the CAC website, and I think Erin will also be either sending the link or sending it out to the attendees. And I think Mike has said, yeah, a great way to keep your chapter active without an educational program 1 month. That's true. So kind of mix it up a little. Marcia says other days can be exciting, such as Hot Topic Tuesday or I Wish I'd Known Wednesday. All right, that's good. There would always be an event. Mike says that's true too. I think it's the continuity in it. That sounds, your continuity in following up with people, the continuity and in just having events. So I'll let you, Anita, thank you so much. Have the last word if you'd like to wrap anything up or just, have a few closing remarks.
Well, thank you very much. A year ago, I would not have thought that I would be presenting with this because I still didn't know what I was doing at STC. But through volunteering, I have gained so much that I started out wanting to share with other people who were searching, and it ended up that there was a lot of other people who were interested. I will tell you that a lot of the initial reaching out is very scary when you get started, but once you get practiced at it, it gets a lot easier. It's not so terrifying to be that first contact every time. But thank you again. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. That is my email, as well as I am very active on STC Slack, and I am the only Anita Matechuk. So,
Okay. And this has been great. I think you've given everybody a lot of good information and just a lot of good advice. And I'm just going to put in here our deep sea adventure enrollment. But no, this has been great, Anita, and I think you've given us all a great start. And thank you so much for sharing this and for taking such an active lead. And thank you everyone for joining us. We've had a really nice discussion, and we'll see you next month with Lori Meyer. And everyone have a good evening or good day. Thank you. And we'll stop the recording.